yeah, when we started out here, we had a little layer of lentils, somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of a cup. Fill the jar right up with water, and I let that soak for 24 hours. Then drain that water off, and every morning and every evening I would give it a good solid rinse, swish it around a fair bit, get them kind of loosened up in there a bit because they do tend to compress, and then pour the water off. Now, I like to use the water on my from my seeds, from my sprouts, on my actual plants, because it's got lots of nutrient in it. You know, you've got vitamin C from the plants, you've got some of your other trace minerals, and of course what you're doing is you're rinsing off anything, any bacterial stuff, any accumulation from the air. There's always a risk of mold and things that'll grow on the lentils, so you're rinsing all of that off, and it's actually fabulous water for your plants. So being fundamentally lazy and a little bit on the cheap side, I found that the human hand kind of makes the best possible sieve going when it comes to something like this. I used to try and put it through a strainer and back into the jar, or use the little jar lids that have the strainer thingy on it, and it just takes a really long time, and I would get impatient and tired of waiting and would end up doing it that way anyway. And then what I use for the top is an unbleached coffee filter. If there's any excess moisture, that'll allow it to evaporate. It'll stop them from drying out too much, and it allows for a good oxygen exchange. Now, these lentils are at the point where what I need to do with them now is set them in either a window or under a light where they can green up a little bit, because they're about a couple of inches in length, got lots of root, got lots of little green sprout growing on them. I want to take one out and get a close-up or two of them. So what we've got is, there's the lentil, and you get the root coming out one side and the little lentil sprout coming out the other side, all completely edible. Just starting to open up into the two little leaves, and that's a really, really good state of growth for them to be in, and to go under the light and get a little bit of green chlorophyll going on them, and that's the lentils. Okay, now this is sunflower seeds, same basic principle, but what you'll notice with sunflower seeds is that they have this little paper-like coating on the seeds, and it leads to more murky water, and you need to be a little more diligent with sunflower seeds than you do with the lentils or the mung beans, because you get this these seed hulls coming off. And if you don't rinse it give them a good rinses a couple of times a day, this murkiness that you find in the water really becomes quite nasty. It becomes a vector for mold, and is one of the reasons why seeds need to be grown at home and not shipped all over the place, because mold and salmonella and that can definitely breed in this lovely nutrient-rich environment. So again, I just use my hand to prevent all of the good stuff pouring out while I allow the water to run through. Now, with the sunflower seeds, those little seed coatings that come off are clear, translucent pretty much, and very light, so they tend to float on the top of the water and come out fairly easily, and it's a good idea to let them just pour off. Now, the sunflower seeds are actually at the point where we've got them splitting distinctly into two leaves. Tiny, tiny little rootlet on them. Yeah, not nearly as big a rootlet as the leaf in this case. We got what's left of the seed here, root out this side, and the little cotyledon leaves. So the sunflowers are also at the point where I could start letting them green up, but I like to let them get a little bit longer of a sprout. So I'm going to let those go probably for at least one more day before I put them in the sun or under the light. So I'll put this back in my cupboard where it doesn't get any light. And the queen or king of sprouts, the mung bean. The best thing about mung bean sprouts, in all honesty, is their fabulous taste, okay? Alfalfa sprouts and radish sprouts and broccoli sprouts are all much higher in vitamin C. The sunflower seed sprouts, peas, and even the lentils actually have a broader range of micronutrients and B vitamins in them than the mung beans. But the mung beans have that fabulous bean sprout taste that we all associate with our favorite Oriental dishes. And they have the ability to develop very, very large sprouts. And so when I get this one drained off a bit, I'll show you what I mean. Now mung beans, like the sunflower seeds, get a coating that comes off and floats away. Unlike the sunflower seeds, though, it's a very noticeable coating. It's a dark green. It definitely looks like an empty sea hull when it floats to the top of the water. And like the sunflower seeds, you need to get as much of it out as possible during the growing process because it tends to just create problems. Now you can see with the mung bean here that what we end up getting, instead of like little leaves right away, is we get these very elongated root sprouts. And this is what we're going for with mung beans. Now, these are about 4 or 5 days old. They've been rinsed every morning and every night. And now that they've got this nice long tail, this is when what I will do is I will fill this jar up with water and I will allow that to soak overnight, possibly even into the next day, until these sprouts are looking very fat and very much like the commercial sprouts. So mung beans take a little bit more care and attention to get the result that you want out of it. Mung beans are our favorite sprout. Everybody's really familiar with it. You see it in lots of Chinese and Oriental cooking. It has a fabulous flavor, and there's no getting away from the fact that, if you're going to, want to grow sprouts, you're going to want to grow mung bean sprouts. But the reality is that mung beans are not the most nutritious of sprouts. All of the smaller seeded sprouts, like your alfalfa, your radishes, your broccolis, your cauliflowers, cabbage seeds, all of those are actually much higher in vitamin C. And some of your other beans, like your lentils and seeds like sunflower seeds, are actually much higher in micronutrients and B vitamins. But mung beans grow into a nice, huge, tasty bean. They have a fabulous texture. Well, they started out as rather a luxury food, something that, could spice up the taste and flavor, and it is rocketed, of course, to the top of the North American palate food ladder, which sadly has little to do with nutrition. To me, the safety, the food safety, the food security, and the nutrition factors for stuff like sprouts is so much better met at home. Now, the other advantage is, boy, if you think sprouts are cheap to buy in the store as grown sprouts, wait till you start buying, seeds and turning them into sprouts, because this jar full of sprouts would be about, somewhere around 85 cents to $1 worth of sprouts if I were to buy it from the grocery store. It actually cost me about 2 cents worth of mung bean seeds and a little bit of water and a coffee filter, which I can reuse. Alrighty, so Sprouts 101.